Oh, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's good. What's happening? Rajasthan Royals Zindabad says people. Mirror says Sharanya, how are you everywhere? By the way, great advice. I have to give a compliment to Sharanya shortly, which I will do very shortly. Hope everybody's good. Excited about today's match. Lots to discuss. Dude, I have not seen this much news about cricket in a really long time. Where like every day there is like not only a new bit of news, but a news story about that news that's broken through. So yeah. Hope everybody's doing good. Do give a like so that the algorithms are defeated. After all, nothing else but to defeat algorithms is our purpose in life. All right. I'll take a couple of normal chats that are popping in right now. Mirror says invite Ranji IPL players to stream who are not involved currently. Absolutely. I just farted right now. Nice. That's obnoxious. What an obnoxious man. What an obnoxious and truly horrific man. I decided to put myself in no light for punishing myself. Dhruv Mitra says you're not doing live from OBS. No, I'm not, because I don't have money to buy a new laptop, and OBS requires a brand new laptop. Don't have cash flying around during the pandemic. Dhruv Mitra, you don't have to type the same thing 7,000 times. I got your message and answered it as well. Aditya Pacharne says, love you, Sorabh. I love you too, Aditya. I don't know you well, but I'm sure you're a great human being. Okay, I believe in you, Aditya. I think you can make anything happen. You can become the captain of India's volleyball team and take over the world. I believe in you, Aditya. Don't let people tell you otherwise. All right. Welcome to the show. And yeah, please keep giving likes. I'm going to give a bit of heads up on what's coming up over the next week. We have finally locked down a very fun lineup. I'm very excited about the people that are popping in. I'll just quickly announce who's coming next on these IPL slash cricket lives. Today, of course, we have Bharat Sundaresan and Melinda Farrell. I'll introduce them shortly. Tomorrow, which is Wednesday at 11 a.m., I have Deep Das Gupta, former Indian cricketer, has come on, also a commentator, and has come on Akash Chopra's stream multiple times. So that's going to be exciting as well. And we also have on Thursday at 11 a.m., I have Snehal Pradhan, Indian cricketer, also has a YouTube channel who's really killing it as well, and is, I think, commentating in Marathi in the IPL. So great fun there. And of course, Friday, I have one of my favorite people who's come many times before and has negotiated his way through this. Jamie Alter is going to be here at 10:30 a.m. on Friday, right before I catch my flight to Bangalore. So that's the lineup so far. We'll have somebody on Saturday, Sunday. Oh, also, yeah, just confirmed 29th September. Kate Cross and Alex Hartley, England players, are going to be here. Very excited about that. If you've not heard their No Balls podcast, please do. Really good fun. So, yeah. Just a couple of things. Yeah, I am off to Bangalore this weekend. I am going to be in Bangalore on 24th, 25th, and 26th. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, doing shows in Bangalore all over the place. Tickets are on sorabpanth.com. I'm also going to be hosting tonight's comedy roulette at Habitat in Mumbai in Khar West. So if you're around, you can pop in. I think tickets are still available for that, which is unusual because these days, surprisingly, my shows are going sold out, which is shocking. I mean, I know the reason why, because of social distancing, the number of tickets is down to like 4. So yeah, so I'm going to be at Habitat tonight, tomorrow, and day after, just doing hosting, not going to be doing stand-up, just crowd work and fun things like that. So Bangalore this weekend. The weekend after that, I'm going to be in Delhi, which is on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of October. I'm going to be doing shows all over the place. We're adding more and more shows as they're getting sold out. Post that is going to be Hyderabad, and I should be adding more cities as well. So yeah, there you go. That's about it. You can go to sorabpanth.com for details as well as for tickets. And if you want to support the show, you can also become a member. Why not? Yeah, tell me who else you want. Okay, people have already started. Aritra Majumdar says, please pronounce my name correctly, sir. Love you. I think I did it. I think I've nailed it. You can send me 9,000 rupees in super chat. Much appreciated. Okay, what else is there? People are saying Joy is not coming, says Karthik Raj. I think there's a lot of conflict happening because of the IPL, because a lot of people are reporting live on the IPL. So either they're tied in with, say, a Crick Info or a Crick Buzz or the BCCI, etc., etc. So I've not asked Joy yet because last time that was the issue, but I'll ask him again. I would love to talk to Joy. I should actually also talk to Abhishek, so that should be fun. Balaji Srinivasan says, enjoy Houseful while it lasts. Thanks, man. Thanks for your vote of confidence in my career. I really appreciate it. No, I'm really enjoying myself right now. Oh, we've got a super chat to start with. Yash Acharya says, SGD 2.98, you're awesome, Taklia. Thanks a lot, brother. Really, really nice of you. I should be, dude, I want to come to Singapore for a show somehow. Somebody make it happen as soon as this lockdown gets over. All right. I think I have both my guests ready to go. They are both eminent cricket journalists, and one of them runs. Okay, I'll just admit them and then I'll introduce them. One of them runs a wonderful cricket YouTube channel called The Good, the Bad, and the Ridiculous. And the other one is a cricket journalist who loves Michael Holding and wrote very effusively about Michael Holding, saying, "Whoa." So yeah, please give it up for Bharat Sundaresan as well as Melinda Farrell. Hello, friends. Good evening. How's life?
Life is good. Life is good. Lockdown, but hoping to come out of it soon, and pretty happy, really. I'm just checking out Bharat's new background. That's a fancy new background you've got.
That's basically also I'm shilling for my wife's talent. So these are all the pots and pans and cups and mugs and everything she's made. So there you go. Somebody needs to have talent at home. So there you go. And she's playing around with the lights as well. Yeah, she's got that talent as well to go buy a light from Kmart and then play around with the lights.
So Bharat, I mean, you might as well do the proper plug and say, hey, where your wife's stuff is available. I mean, I don't know if any Indian viewers will be able to afford it, but yeah.
No, they're pretty reasonably priced, as they say in Ghatkopar. But she set up some Etsy page. And the pressure though is on me. So she does have customers who buy stuff online. But it's my job to carefully take it to Australia Post, get it parceled, and then send it. And I always have at the back of my mind, I have this logic: if something breaks, I'll just stab myself with it and just finish it off. So we have that understanding between us. So,
Sorry. I have a urban club booking in my house right now, and the guy has arrived 1.5 hours late. So my wife needs the OTP. So we're all dealing with our spouses. That's basically all it is right now.
Obviously, except me.
No, listen, Tim Southee is around somewhere. I don't know why I've married you off to Tim Southee in this fictional scenario. Melinda, have you finally got vaccinated?
Oh yeah, I did. In fact, I think the town I'm in now, we're streaming straight ahead, and I think we're just about to pass 90% first dose rate of vaccinations, which I think is higher than perhaps any other town in Australia. So that's kind of impressive. So it was very, very difficult for me to get there. I really had to make a lot of calls and a lot of calls. I made a lot of calls. I spent a lot of time basically on call waiting. But yeah, I am fully jabbed, and I have, metal's not sticking to me. I'm not picking up any dodgy 5G signals. So all seems to be good. Thank goodness. I just wish I could go somewhere. I got fully vaxxed so that, be ready to charge off at the start of the Australian cricket season, and can't go anywhere because I'm locked down, Yeah. Them's the breaks.
Listen, I used to keep going through your tweets and feeling really good about being in Mumbai, because we had been complaining initially so much about the vaccinations, and I could hear you and I'm like, yes, the Australians have it worse. And the pettiness inside me rose up with...
Yeah, well, we've been very, very lucky here. It's just we kind of really screwed up on the whole rolling out the vaccination bit. But hopefully now it's going well, and hopefully that means that I can see Bharat soon at a net somewhere, and we can sort of spend an entire day watching various people's forward defenses and boring stuff like that. Yeah, I know. I miss you too.
Listen, for those who don't know, Bharat Sundaresan is one of the leading spies for journalists in cricket. He knows what kind of shots people are wearing, what kind of shots they're hitting, all sorts of stuff. Basically, those two things. I don't even know if they wear shots. I've never seen a net with professional cricketers in my life. So who have you been spying on recently, Bharat?
I actually went and watched the South Australians in the nets this morning, and they all they all know me by name and all. I have no idea how, but I do some commentary. Maybe that's how they got the name. But they're so happy that someone makes the effort and comes sees. Especially with the South Australian team, Mel will tell you they've not won anything for the last 83 years or something. So they always finish bottom. They're one of those bichara teams. I was doing commentary last year, I remember, and I didn't realize I must have sounded a little disappointed that, they were losing another game. I got a message from someone. It's like, mate, how long have you been here? I was like, 3 years. Yeah, this is how it's been for the last 3 decades. So get used to it. Stop sounding so disappointed for them. So, yeah, I was watching Travis Head, former vice captain of Australia. Who else was there? Alex Carey was there, and a few other names. I'm not sure whether a lot of people in Adelaide would have heard about them, because what happens in South Australia is, because they don't do too well, you have all these people from Victoria, New South Wales just come here and play. So 15 years ago, who knows, I might have had a chance. Not really, but I just like to believe that.
Yeah, we all like to believe that. Listen, I've discussed this often. Like, we used to play rubber ball cricket in my building, and I used to be like a colossal bully because I had some shoulder strength. So I used to bully everybody with like beamers and bounces with the rubber ball and york them and all that kind of stuff. And I think I played my first match with the season ball. And I think till my mid-20s, I was like, you know what? I could have been a cricketer. And then I started talking to cricketers, and they were like, dude, you had no chance. Like, there was absolutely, you wouldn't even have made it to the Z team of Mumbai's 9th Ranji Trophy side. There's no way. You had no chance in here. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, but they can't prove that. Just remember, they can't prove that.
True. Yeah, see, there you go.
But Sorabh, I really think if international cricket was played with rubber ball, no, we would have had a chance. I don't know why it's not more popular. It's so difficult to play. I don't know whether you don't think you get those kind of balls here in Australia, Mel. So they're small and generally red in color. But there was a period in the 90s when you used to get white rubber balls with a seam and all that. I mean, you couldn't do anything with the seam. You could rub it with anything you wanted. It wouldn't do anything in the air or off the pitch. But rubber ball cricket is so difficult. Because, I remember Rohit Sharma saying this many years ago when I interviewed him about why he's so good against a short ball. He said, in Borivali, they don't bowl full to you. And for the longest time, we had this joke in the Indian Express office. 2 places in the world where they don't bowl full, Barbados or Borivali. If you come from those 2 places, you'll be great with the full shot. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I can imagine that actually. Yeah, now that you mention it, and also we used to play like in really rained out tracks. So it was skiddy and bouncy at the same time. So it was, now that you mention it, like, I think we were all relatively decent with the pull. We used to play a variant of the hook shot, right? Where it's more of a like this.
Yeah.
Just to use this thing to get a 6 behind. Yeah. So, okay. So, Mel is right. I think I could have been the Rohit Sharma of my generation, but I missed out. Okay, there's a lot to talk about. Just before we get into stuff, I'll just tell people what the flow is. We're going to discuss all the stuff that's been happening in cricket across the board, which includes what's happening in Pakistan, Michael Holding's retirement, which I think all 3 of us big fans, we'll figure out the order of who's the biggest fan. Just a couple of super chats, and then we'll get into the IPL and sort of lead into today's match, which I think is Punjab Kings and Rajasthan Royals. Is it today? Yeah. I don't think either of us do. Yeah.
Check really.
I think it's one of those people. Somebody in the comments will tell us. Yeah. Okay, I'll just take these super chats. Yash Acharya says, "You're awesome, Takliya Heart. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it." And he also has given another super chat. Says, "Chalo, done. You along with Sharul and Rishi in Singapore." Absolutely, man. Happy to do a show with them anytime. Right now, I'm happy to do a show with like anyone and everywhere. I think I've lined up more shows than I've ever lined up in my life just to see what it feels like. And Sanjay Menon has given Australian $2. Thanks a lot. Says Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Good job. What do you both think about Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi?
The worst chant in world sport. It's just, oh man, I can't deal with it. It makes me cringe. It makes me pull out my British passport and wave it around and just say, yeah, see, I'm British as well. No, whatever it is, it's always annoyed me. It's just like, come on, I know the Barmy Army isn't to everyone's, taste, but like the Barmy Army come out with some quite sort of detailed songs and they think about it. And it's the same with the Bharat Army as well. And, you've got the Papara band and yeah, they do Bharat, stop it. Your army does. They've all got things that they think about and they've got, the Papara bands. You've got all sorts of things around world cricket. And what's the creativity that you've got in Australian chanting? Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. It's so boring. It's 2 words repeated 3 times each. Come on. Surely we could come up with something better than that.
Yeah, but I think you do, right? In the stands, there's a lot of stuff that pops out, which I've heard is quite imaginative. But it's weird that you mentioned the Bami Army, because I was listening to a podcast which I was listening to the No Balls podcast with Kate Cross and Alex Hartley, which I really enjoyed, and that led me to listen to Mark Wood doing a podcast with Miles Job. And it's a genuinely fun podcast because Miles Jupp is one of my favorite comedians and just a joy to watch in general. And then Mark, what I discovered also is quite really fun. And they interviewed the other day, they interviewed Deco, who's one of the Barmy Army dudes. And it was a very fascinating interview because what he kept repeating was that, listen, I've traveled, I've seen 93 test matches across the globe. And he kept going on about repeating to Mark Wood and all the cricketers that, listen, you don't understand what you do means to us. Like it defines everything that I do. And I was like, man, that's a pretty like Mark Wood's got to be like, that's a lot of pressure, man. I got to take 5 wickets next time. It's a lot.
He is. I've met Deco, and I've spoken to a lot of the Barmy Army people and sat with them before at various times as well. And it clearly is like it's a real traveling. I remember when the last Ashes in Australia, and there was so many of them. And I went out, and there was a day when they were having a game, and it's like the biggest traveling group having just a whale of a time. It's quite amazing, really, that now it's become much more of a big business, and they have sponsors and they have lots of organizers. So it's sort of become a bit more structured, but it's a heck of a thing to sort of see them all there all together. It's like this traveling village, really, that goes around the world. And clearly they obviously have to spend a lot of money and take time off work and do everything else to do it. So it clearly does mean an enormous amount to them.
I remember Sorabh, Tony Cozier saying this to me a long time ago, that every time there was a test match, English test match in Barbados, and the Barmy Army came, the GDP grew by by a double or something like that, just because of the Barmy Army. But I know a lot of friends who live here in Adelaide, like English expats who are part of the Barmy Army and all that. So they have a very different take on it. They talk about how it's become politicized, and now you're either with them or you're against them. So if you're an English fan and it's almost like becoming a member of Cricket Club of India. It's either in your blood and you need to be nominated to be there, and you have to stick to doing things that they're doing, and how it's not fun anymore. So back in 2006-7, apparently it was a lot of fun. There was more freedom. So now, and hey, I've had people forget about Barmy Army, the Bharat Army and Swami Army and all those armies. I remember one guy coming up to me in New Zealand last year and saying that, oh, yeah, I was kicked out from there and I was kicked out from there, so I've started my own army. Please tell me how. It's yeah. So as much as like most things, no, like when they start off, they're all cool and all that. Once it becomes popular, or they think everybody starts taking themselves seriously, and wahan pe bhi aa jata hai politics.
Yeah, it's like any movement. Once people start like going like, "Hey, we have power, interesting," and then we're like, you go from anarchist to capitalist very quickly. It's always a great journey. Okay, we got one super chat popping from Rajat Shah. Thanks a lot, Rajat, who says, "Seeing Bharat's background, I wouldn't have a hard time believing he covers MasterChef Australia as well."
I've always thought I'll be a great MasterChef Australia contestant. I've seen what they do. I'm good with doing drama and all that. If I'll say that, yeah, my wife was there in Australia. I lived in India for 20 months, especially Desi Loka. These days, if you're of Asian descent, like especially Indian, you make some 3-4 curries and you'll get through those first few weeks. And you need a decent backstory. And how we are. Yeah? We can definitely make it make anything sound melodramatic. So yeah, I think I have a good
and also you can literally do a back-to-back this thing, which is like a fusion thing related to cricket-based Indian cooking. So it's like a duck curry and all that kind of stuff. That's the only one I can think of.
Although I would like to point out that I'm the one who sends Bharat regularly pictures of my cooking. Whenever we have Indian night, in particular. I do always send Bharat like a photo to see if he approves. So it's usually me sending him my carefully arranged on the tray, beautifully presented, whatever curry it is, especially if it's anything to do with a Bengal ingredient, just one ingredient that I think that he might approve of.
My wife is a Bengali and she attempted to do this thing called a white pumpkin sabzi or something like that. And for almost 2 weeks, I've been pretending it's good, and it's really not. It's just very healthy. So I was just like, yeah, this is really good. Yeah, it tastes damn nice. And in my head, I'm like, can I just have some sausages on the side? Which is what I do. Okay, there's a lot to cover. Let's talk about all the things that have been happening. Now, the update, which is, I think, surprised barely anyone, was that England has cancelled their Pakistan tour as well. I'm sure both of you have far more insights than I do, but I would love to start off with, I think, George Dobell, who said that, is that how you say his surname? It's Dobell only, right? Yeah.
Dobell,
yeah. He said that that England cricket doesn't. He basically said that England cricket is hypocritical in regards to the expectations they have from other nations versus their own. So yeah, I mean, do you agree with that? And generally, do you have any other insights on this whole thing? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I was going to let Bharat go first. Yeah, I read George's piece earlier, and I think it was a brilliant piece. When I read the ECB statement this morning, first thing this morning, it seemed odd, and then I read it again, and it seemed really uncomfortable because, I think you need to separate two, although one's following the other, what happened with New Zealand, what happened with England. So in the case of New Zealand, we don't know enough, do we? How do we know enough to judge? Because one of the things that's frustrating Pakistan so much, or the PCB so much, is that the information isn't going to be shared privately or publicly about what this threat was, other than it was credible and it was specific to the New Zealand team. And now an unfortunate consequence of that is that in the absence of information, speculation thrives, conspiracy theories thrive, and it just makes people more angry and frustrated. But they've made their decision based on whatever happened last Friday. What England is doing, it's a 4-day tour. It's a very, very short tour. But they cited looking after the mental well-being of their players. And we all know that at the moment, the constant quarantine life, bubble life, all of that is taking a strain on players. And that's fair enough. And yes, that should, be a big concern. But there was nothing mentioned about a security threat for this tour. And at the moment, Pakistan cricket, it's suffering blow after blow. After so many years of not being able to host cricket, finally getting it back there. England scheduled this tour knowing what the schedule was. They made the decision to do this. So to just pull out of that tour for mental health reasons, when Pakistan did go and really helped them out last year, it's even this year, when you looked at the England suddenly having to, in the midst of COVID outbreak, suddenly come up with a brand new team. So Pakistan has done a lot to support England cricket at times in the past couple of years. So it really just didn't sit right that they would cite mental health reasons to call off a 4-day tour, which would have been England women's first tour of Pakistan as well. So I don't think that's come across well. I don't think it's going to fly with a lot of people. It's certainly, I reckon, going to go down like a lead balloon in Pakistan. And I think they have good reason to feel that way. Even looking back, and if you reference George's piece again, I was there in 2017 at that Champions Trophy when there was the dreadful terrorist attack in London, and there was all that, they cordoned off the streets for blocks and blocks around the stadiums, and we had to go through a lot more security to get there. But it was like, we're not going to let the terrorists win. We're going to get on with this, and we've got to make sure they don't win and all that sort of thing, and every single match was played. So I can see why there's a perfectly valid view that maybe there is some hypocrisy there, and that England are setting, or the ECB is setting a standard for other countries. That are they willing to sort of live by that themselves and expecting them to come and play in England when COVID's rife, and even at times when there have been terrorist attacks there. So that for me is really disappointing. And you look ahead, I've spoken to people at Cricket Australia who say they still really want the tour to go ahead next year. So they're not at any kind of stage from what I've been told, of sort of preempting that tour. And I really hope that goes ahead, because Australia certainly hasn't done its bit in supporting cricket in other countries as well, in pulling out of tours and all that sort of thing. And they haven't been back to Pakistan yet to play since cricket's been played there. So from the moment I read it, it just didn't feel right. And then the more I read it, it just felt even more wrong. So if it was a security threat, maybe it'd be a different story, or security concerns, but they're not even saying that. It sounds like they can't be asked to go. Like that's sort of the feeling I got from it a bit. Yeah, can't really be asked to go. But I don't know. We might find out some more information in the coming days. But I feel really bad. Pakistan fans are angry and upset, and you can understand why.
I mean, look, I think the only positive to come out of this is that for a couple of days, surprisingly, New Zealand were not the nicest. The New Zealand cricket team were not the nicest guys on the planet. At least one section of the cricket world were looking at New Zealand going, how can you do that? I spoke to a couple of my friends in Pakistan, who were really upset. And their take on the whole New Zealand thing first was, wait, you went through all the security protocols, you send your recce teams, and they said okay to everything, and all it took was one phone call, and that's it. It like, what was the point of all of this, right? Why did you have to? Some of them said, "Oh, this is just talk. This is just like New Zealand trying to be the good boys." And eventually, look, they're like everybody else. It just like, one phone call, and they're not even telling us what happened or what they heard. It's all up in the air. And we know about our security better than any other country, which is what most countries would claim as well. But then England say, no, wait. Yeah, there's too much grief going New Zealand's way. So we'll also opt out of some 4-day tour. It's like Mel said, it's a 4-day tour. It's not even like, they had to quarantine one day, play back-to-back matches and leave. That's it. And this has been on the calendar for quite a while. So it's just, I don't know what to say. Like, so people in Pakistan are, of course, upset. And Mel spoke about the 2017 one. I remember I used to work for an Indian newspaper back then. So I got a call from my boss saying, well, it's a newspaper, so forget about the match and you have to go cover, or at least get some report out from this terrorist attack, which has happened so close to where the Indian team are. So dramatic scenes, and but the show just went on. Not one game was affected because of that. This is despite India, Pakistan in the same space, and you know how the crowds can be in the UK when an India-Pakistan match is on. So this is just strange, and suddenly nobody's talking about the Manchester Test either. It's all about England backing out, and and it will also bring the IPL back into the picture, right? I saw in George's piece, he's also spoken about how maybe some of those players who would have missed out the playoffs to go on that 4-day tour might now stay back and play in the IPL. And it's also set such a bad precedent for England. Like, now going forward, there's been so much complaining about what Australia is going to be like for the Ashes. So whatever happens in Australia and they accept it, how do you justify being in a bubble for 3 months when you're saying, no, we can't do it for 4 days? So whichever way you look at it, it's not going to end well for England. And they're back to being number one villains again.
Listen, Australia always close in the like, even if they've not done anything, they're like, hey, it's always Australia. But it's so interesting that over the last whatever month, it seemed like my mom always says that all nations, their first priority and their first this thing is themselves. And cricket or any sport is essentially the manifestation of that sort of self-obsession. And it seemed like across the board, it's been roughly that. And I think just like, for example, India doing the Sri Lanka tour, I thought was like an exception. Pakistan going to England at the time was an exception. And yeah, it's but it seems like all of these things were almost inevitable because like I'm actually curious what you think about Ramesh Raja talking about the Western Bloc, because that I thought seemed like a bit of a jump, but you can understand why they are absolutely worked up about all of this.
We've gone from the big three. Well, I was just going to say we've gone from the big three to the Western Bloc. Yeah. It's, you know, it's the new thing in town. I think Cricket Australia, people at Cricket Australia were quite. They were sort of going, hang on, we haven't done anything yet. Well, you know, what have we done? I think there was a little bit of that. Oh, can't we go back to the big three? We don't want to be part of the Western Bloc. Why is it always us in whatever Block 3 thing it is? So I don't know. I want
to ask a very stupid geographial question. Is Australia even Western? Like, is it? It's
not.
It's like. Where like according to the flat earth theory, right? Is Australia is it at the edge?
It's just far.
I don't know.
Yeah, Australia just like, you know, I remember Mohammad Irfan, you remember that giant fast bowler? He was left arm tall, and similarly Australia is just far. It's neither west or east. It's somewhere there. Yeah, and New Zealand is further away then. Yeah, so it's just, but yeah, will Australia go to Pakistan? I personally will be surprised. I know, of course, it's too early for Cricket Australia to say anything about it. It's early next year. I mean, if you haven't gone to South Africa and you haven't gone to Bangladesh to play tests, yes, they did go eventually to go play those T20 as what they played some 5 matches in 2.5 days or so. It felt like, right, Mel? Like, I don't know when one game finished and the next one started. So, but yeah, but you're right. Sorabh, it's inevitable. I'm surprised that there haven't been more cancellations. There have already been quite a few, but even just, you know, India to play 4 tests and just cancel 1 test when after having said all they said in Australia with the bubbles and all that, I still can't believe the India tour of Australia was pulled off last year. It's funny that we're in the same position again now. We're saying, England aega, will England come? If England don't come, then Cricket Australia will be, you know, fighting in terms of their finances. But it's crazy. We're back again. Only difference is there's no Virat Kohli. So last year from say May of 2020 to November of 2020, every time I turned on the news here, Virat Kohli was there. I felt like I was back in Bombay. Like, I've not seen Virat Kohli on the news in Bombay as much as I saw him here. But yeah, I don't think Joe Root kind of gets Australians going as much as Virat does.
Yeah. He's like more about, and now recently Virat has been I think he's making a lot of announcements, which seems like it seems like a tweet battle between Jay Shah and Virat Kohli. Like, who's going to win this this announcement battle at the end of the day? But yeah, it's I mean, with the security protocols, right? Like, I'm sure both of you also know people like in the intelligence agencies anywhere, right? Or have heard rumors. And I spoke to my parents who were in the civil services, and they said, listen, the problem with these kind of things is that you just never know who said what to whom and how serious a threat was. So the fact that they've been sort of very cryptic about the actual nature of the thing might be very obviously intentional, because somebody may have said that, hey, listen, we have information, but just keep mum about it. So you never know. I just hope that, like, in general, like I think what's been happening over the last few days is that, and I'm glad that the cycle has come full, is that jingoism between the two countries, India and Pakistan, started, and then the logical people sort of stepped in, and I'm glad that sort of at least some balance is being maintained, because I don't think anybody wants cricket tours to be cancelled. So I'm hoping that at some stage down the line, whether it's the 5th test in Manchester or the Pakistan tour, I hope that there is some recompense in the long run. Like, people are like, you know what, now it's safe. Let's just make this happen somehow.
Yeah, I hope so. I just want everything not to be back how it was, because it wasn't always great. But yeah, it's become really difficult, this whole, is it going to happen? Is something going to happen? I don't know. It's hard. It's hard even just from, and it's not, doesn't affect us the same way that it affects anyone else. But it's even hard to plan anything. I mean, I'm going to be going, I need to go down to, sort of completely different, but I need to go down to Sydney in the same state. I'm going down to Sydney to do a few things. I think I'm going to have to get a special work permit just to travel within one state to go to Sydney and come back. And I might have to isolate when I come back as well and get tested. It's just like the world's become really complicated, man. What is that? I mean, I was supposed to go to India last year. When the days when we could just go, yeah, I'm going to go to this country and travel around and cover some cricket. I want that back again. All the simple things. I miss it.
I got to tell you the story, just completely randomly. I was traveling, I think, just prior to the second wave, we had started doing shows. And I was going to Coorg, and I landed at one of the airports near Coorg in this thing. And at the airport, there was a massive desk that said health checkup, and everybody had got their RT-PCR, all that stuff done. And we are like, hey, this is so professional. There's a health checkup and all that kind of stuff happening. And you approach the health checkup, and the guy just looks up at you and he says, you have COVID? And you say no, and he's like, done. I'm like, wow, this is all a trust exercise. That's all it is. It's beautiful. Like, yeah, this is
so hang on. So are you saying that you now have a health checkup at the airport?
They did. They briefly did in a couple of places. I think in certain states and all, like I think Kerala briefly had this thing where they had to track down where one of the serial spreaders in Kerala, they tracked down who this person met and where exactly they went, and tracked down everybody, and I think isolated or quarantined or tested everybody. It was actually quite cool. It was like a very intense forensic investigation.
Yeah. So but the thing with that is, like, it took me several trips to the airport from the first couple of times I went to India to actually work out the whole system at the airport. Because so if you go to the airport in Australia, you walk in. Usually the check-ins are all automated. You just go print out your boarding pass, you go stick your bag on a thing, and then you go through security, and then that's it. You get on the plane. So it wasn't until after a while that, worked out this. You have to actually have your passport and your ticket and your boarding pass just to get into the airport. But then you have to check your luggage through a security thing before you go to actually check in. And then if you have excess baggage, I remember I think it was at Chandigarh, then once you did that, you had to go out of the airport and back in another part to check in your excess baggage. And then you had to go through the whole process of coming in again. And then you do the security stuff. But then you have to make sure when your hand luggage goes through, never, ever forget the little tag that you got to put on your bags, because if you don't have the little tag, then they won't let you take it on the plane. It was so confusing to me. I was like, God, I need to write down this sequence of events. So now if there's more there, I mean, I had it down pat by the end, like after 3 months of traveling around India on one tour, I kind of had it all down pat. I knew the whole thing, and I never forgot my little tag for my hand luggage. But
you got to keep it till you come to Australia. Yeah.
No, I'll tell you that, for me, it's completely opposite, right? Here, in India, if you're going to see someone off at the airport, you're not even allowed to come near the gate, right? What if the automatic door opens and you walk in? So you do it there'll be the extra railing, so you have to stand behind the railing. So here, when you go to see someone off, you can literally go all the way to the flight. I'm sure if nobody checks, you can go to the cockpit as well. There's no security, and it's kind of scary, right? And I always joke about this. People say, right, oh, how do you know someone's not from New York? They're on the street looking up. Similarly, if you walk into a domestic airport in Australia and you see some Indian uncle with a piece of paper in his hand, he's like, haha, I know how. Uncle has never traveled domestic in Australia. So he's looking for the counter, and he'll have a printout of the ticket. So it's actually scary. Here, you just walk into the airport, buy coffee. Nobody's asking you any questions. So you're like, oh, I look like someone who should not be allowed inside the airport anyway. Even after I pass on. But this should not be happening. It's weird, and especially when you land as well. At times after a long flight, you're thinking about, oh, it's been like 3 months. Like you're thinking about what's the first thing I'm going to tell my wife and all that. So that whole walk through the airport and all that is when you start thinking about it, right? But here you walk out and she's already there, and you're like, oh, like crap, I should have planned better for this. So,
yeah, it's. I think Dubai airport was the first one where they X-ray your bags before you even enter the airport. And the second I saw that, I'm like, this actually makes more sense from a security POV than all the other airports that exist. There was a point where I think in Calcutta airport they had a fees of I think 25 rupees where you could see off your relatives and then go to a viewing gallery to see the planes take off. A very fascinating experience because I've done that twice just to see what it was. And just people having a cup of coffee and watching planes take off and wondering which one is the relatives. It's a beautiful experience.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, I remember like some friends of mine who used to like live in the US or studying in the US. And because I was the one with the car, I had to go drop them off after they would come to visit their parents. There was one friend in particular whose parents would, you know how it is in India as well, right? If the flight is at 2, Tamil parents as well. So we would reach the airport at 10. The guy would go in at 10 and they would refuse to leave till the flight is taken off. So we would just sit outside and like wait. And like you said, in Bombay as well, if you paid 30 rupees, there was that one room where you don't know whether the passenger is going to come back or not. But there's the hope that he might finish his, before he finishes immigration thing, he'll come back. And half the time he won't come back. Maybe he's sat somewhere and having a drink. But I had to wait with his parents. And like it's like, half the time they would start crying as well. Like it's terrible it used to be.
Dude, I saw somebody doing that at the airport recently, but I think they were seeing off their daughter to the US or whatever and all of that. And this is during peak COVID times again. And there's like a group of 24 people at the airport and all of them to see off one person and everybody's getting emotional and hugs and crying and tears. And it's like, this is, I don't know whether to feel good or bad in this situation. Like there's 24 people to see off one. Okay, I got to talk to you about another cancellation. But before that, please do give a like if you're enjoying this. We're going to talk about shortly before we're going to talk about yesterday's and day before yesterday's match. See what both our esteemed panelists thought about that. By the way, also I'm going to put the link for both Bharat and Melinda for their Instagram and their Twitter and all that stuff, as well as Melinda's page in the description. So if you're watching later, please go check them out. One more super chat popped in from Pulkit Srivastav. Thanks a lot, really appreciate it. And he says, Namaste Mel, hi Bharat. Have you guys seen the new cred ad with Neeraj Chopra? And with New Zealand and England cancelling on Park, should India just announce a series with Park and UAE and make some big profits? He's gone next level, this guy.
Which ad? Have I seen the what ad?
Cred is a basic. It's a credit card paying app in India, which is doing some tremendous. So the one where Rahul Gandhi, I was going to say Rahul Dravid gets angry in the car. I don't know if you've seen that.
I love that. Yeah, that was great. I really loved seeing that. I always knew that deep down there was something there. There's something there.
I would have loved if, like, out of one of the next cars, just like Shoaib Akhtar's head popped out. Just for a second, just to look this thing. So yeah, I think what you've said is a wonderful scenario, but I doubt it's ever going to happen. Raul Nuthaki's also given a super chat. Says, I've gone to Brisbane Airport just to get coffee with a mate. While he was waiting at his gate, they let anyone near the gate. Oh my God, that's I can't imagine that as an Indian. Like, yeah, even the most random airport is like really, really strict about all this stuff. So yeah, okay. I want to get both your opinion on something which I have another opinion about. The one test which I thought like Aman saw this was the Afghanistan test, which is proposed in Australia, and that getting cancelled. I'd love to know what your take on it was, because I mean it's like I genuinely felt that the wrong people are being punished for something else. Like it's a team that is trying their level best, a people that is going through this absolute tremendous crisis who probably needed something positive. And while I completely understand the stance on saying that, hey, if you're not letting women play cricket, that's a big stance we must take, but maybe you should take it from next time is what I thought. Like if you propose this one, go ahead with this one, and the next one you can probably go ahead and do it. That's what I thought about it. I'd love to know what both of you think about this.
You go first this time, Bharat. I went first
really?
last time.
No, Mel and I actually had a long chat about it. We thought that we were solving. I mean, we generally have a one of those chapter we solve all the world's problems. It goes on for hours, but this I think was 2 weeks ago. Look, my take on this is sort of is I don't know who's right. Like, yeah. I mean, look, there is sense in everybody's opinion when it comes to that Afghanistan test. I maybe in my book, Cricket Australia preempted what the ICC were going to do, or they thought that look, the ICC is going to ban them, so let's just put our foot forward and say like, yeah, we were first. Like we take the stance on behalf of women's cricket, and yes, Australia has promoted women's cricket more than any other country has, and that is a fact. And it's been interesting to see a lot of women's cricketers come out and support whatever Australia have done. Across the globe, I haven't seen too many who've said, no, but still should have let the men's team come and play. But I think it goes beyond the game of cricket. I remember telling Mel this as well. I have a very good friend of mine who's still stuck in Kabul. I mean, he is Afghan. He is an Afghan. So he's stuck there and he's trying to get his family out. And, I constantly chat with him. And I mean, he sends me audio notes and he deletes everything. I don't think he really right now is worried about a cricket match happening or not. Like,
Right.
He's worried about what happened to his wife. And, I don't think she's from there. So he doesn't know her future and all that. And then you look at yes, if Australia said yes to an Afghanistan team, come and play a test match, whatever flag they come and play under, what does that say about Australia as a country? I don't know. I have no expert on geopolitics and all that.
Right.
Will they be looked at as someone saying, okay, I mean, we kind of endorsing Afghanistan as a country? So if you are not endorsing another country or not acknowledging it under whatever rule it's under, so is it okay to let their cricket team come and play? Like, how do you, like, I don't know. It's way too complicated for a yes or no answer, like most things, in these kind of situations. And I just think that it makes sense what Cricket Australia have done. But it also makes sense what you said and what a lot of other people have said, including Mel, that, yeah, but, Afghanistan, when they got test status, you didn't bother about whether women were playing test cricket or women were playing cricket there or not. You went ahead and did it. But I think you cannot compare the two circumstances. They're very different. I mean, look what's happening now, right, in Afghanistan. It's completely different. Are you isolating Afghanistan as a country by not letting their cricket team play a test match? I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I don't think it counts either way. I don't think the Taliban is going to be too bothered if you're saying, no, you cannot play. They're not going to change their stance on anything. I read somewhere today on Twitter that I think the IPL is not being shown in Afghanistan because there are women cheerleaders and all that. So they're not going to change their ways at all because of one test match being cancelled. But at the same time, just by hosting that test match, does that justify anything? I don't know. So I don't think I've given you much, but basically I've said it's just too complicated.
Yeah, and and I agree it is, and the problem is, we're talking about this. A lot of people have had their say. Unfortunately, I think that the people that we probably need to hear from the most are the female players in Afghanistan. What do they think? Do they care? What do they feel about other countries taking certain stances? And unfortunately, it's almost impossible for them to speak. There have been a couple who've spoken who managed to get out. I was reading one, spoke to Alison Mitchell on her Stumped podcast. I think she was involved with the administration of the game, and she was saying, no, they shouldn't stop the men from playing because it still gives us joy, and then the young girls can look at that and still want to play cricket someday. It's really hard. I guess the thing I find difficult is that cricket generally tends to be quite selective in where it decides to make a stand, and there can sometimes be some inconsistencies around that. And it is. I know it's different, as Bharat said, the circumstances were different, but where there is, we can look and say, well, that Afghanistan did get full membership and women weren't allowed to play, or a heap of the associate nations don't have a women's cricket team either. Like they don't have one. That was the case in Afghanistan. Not that they weren't allowed, but they didn't have one. But it's always, so the ICC's sort of approach with those countries is that they've made allowances for religious or cultural views when they got affiliate membership in the past or then associate membership. But they offered, incentives, whether usually in the form of cash. If you develop your women's team, you then get this money. And that was sort of one way. And the other way was hopefully by, just promotion and cultural awareness. And so there are countries now who, you look at the status of women's cricket in some countries 10 years ago. I mean, you talk about Australia, the status of women's cricket in Australia 10, 15 years ago. Now we look back and go, well, that, you wouldn't stand for that these days. That's discrimination. That's not treating them fairly or equally or anything like that. So I suppose you look at what's the long-term goal and then work out the way that you get there. Because if you sort of say, well, hey, new team, you have to have Australia's standards right now in how you approach women's cricket. Now, cricket won't go anywhere. So I'm not saying Cricket Australia are wrong in taking that stance, because there's a pretty big line there where you've got an oppressive regime that is actually banning women from playing at all. It's a real concern. But I just think, maybe taking a long-term view, I don't know if they're right and I don't know if they're wrong. I don't think we know enough, and I don't think we've heard enough from women in Afghanistan either. But like you, I feel really sad for fans. You talk about Pakistan fans being passionate and it being really disappointing for them. I've been to several Afghanistan games now in different countries, and their fans are some of the most joyful in the world, just being able to support their team. So that is a huge shame for them. But again, at the moment, probably a lot of people aren't necessarily thinking about cricket when they're just, worrying if they're going to get a knock on the door, or if they're going to be able to go to work or go to school or study or whatever it is that they want to be able to do. It's a really difficult one, I think. And I'm so glad that I'm not having to make these decisions, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? I think so many people have been pointing out about Ramiz Raja going from commentary to the head of the Pakistan board, just in the midst of arguably the biggest turmoil they've had in probably a decade right now. Probably, I guess. I mean, he's really been thrown into it. We'll soon find out if that hair is real.
These are I maintain he and Mark Butcher are the two most stylish men in cricket. Absolutely. They're just style, clothing, always look absolutely impeccable. Never, a piece of lint on their suit jackets, tie always perfectly done up. They are the two most stylish men in cricket. Sorry, Bharat.
Oh, man.
No, I don't even come close to being stylish, man. I have my own style, which doesn't count as style. But hey, about Ramiz Raja, I remember 2 years ago when Pakistan were here, and Wasim Akram was doing commentary for Fox and Ramiz Raja was doing commentary for Channel 7. I mean, the most fascinating team to cover, right? There's always something happening. And I used to be in one room with Bazid Khan, who was doing some stuff for Sony. So, and then Waqar Yunus was bowling coach. So it used to be fascinating listening to, Wasim say stuff about Ramiz and Waqar, all in jest, but there'll be some, he'll say something about them. Then Ramiz would come in and say, "Oh, where's Vaz? Oh, he's gone to read the scoreboard. Is it?" They would have this whole thing. But I remember when Pakistan lost in Adelaide, they would thrash David Warner, made a 100 and all that. So I remember Ramiz Raja and Wasim Akram in that box sitting and talking about, somebody needs to do something about cricket, and they're talking about Imran Khan. And it's funny, right? Imran Khan would send messages. To them. And this is Imran Khan, who's the prime minister of a country. We can't forget that at that point. And he would send messages and they would talk about what speed is Mohammad Abbas bowling at? And, one of them would send him a message saying 82, and Imran Khan would say, sad. And I'm like, wait, does he have a country to, I understand, as a prime minister, you want to know how your country is doing. Yes, you have a former captain. but like it gets so granular as to know what speed your bowler is bowling at. It used to be, and then at that point it almost felt like both Ramiz and Wasim were just playing passing the parcel, hoping that the music doesn't stop when the running Pakistan cricket jo hai, you're not holding in your hand. It looks like Ramiz has ended up with it right now. So poor guy wasn't he saying something like, oh, like we should not be playing Zimbabwe, what quality of cricket is this, like at home we should be. I saw he was getting grief for that as well. So bichara Ramiz Raja, I feel bad for her.
And by the way, you said Muhammad Abbas bowling at 82, which is currently probably his fast ball. He's a very effective bowler, like a tremendous bowler, great record both in county and for Pakistan. But 82 is a lot for him. Okay, we have to talk about. Somebody's come and asked a question which I thought was quite interesting. And this is again talking about Afghanistan cricket, and we're going to come to the IPL. We have 32 minutes till the start of play. Dhruv Bhatia says on Super Chat, do you think Adelaide strikers can afford to not have Rashid Khan next BBL by the same logic? But it's basically it's about the individual versus a country. Yeah. So that's where that sort of a line gets drawn. And Akshay Nathu says, I wish someone loved me as much as Bharat Melinda loved Michael Nisa.
Michael Nisa.
Michael Nisa is a bowler, right?
I want someone to love me as much as Bharat and I love Michael Nisa. He's going to play this summer. He's going to play in the Ashes this summer if the Ashes takes happens.
He has to. Yeah, he's the only cricketer he's ever taken a picture, like a selfie with. I mean, and he also made fun of my camera and said it was dirty and he cleaned. That's how nice a guy he is. Actually cleaned my camera and said, So now Michael Nisa.
He has also, I believe, taken out like I don't know. What do you do when you need to get a stalker away from you as well?
Notice. What is it?
No. I think Mel, you get our relationship completely wrong. Like, he looks out for me, and
Yeah,
I know. And then runs and hides. He looks out for you and says, "Security, he's over there."
What is it called? What is it called? The thing which the joke that you were trying to make. Restraining order. Yeah,
thank goodness.
See, that's right. That's why. See, because Mel has been writing all day while we've just been faffing around. She's got words coming out of her. Yeah. Okay. Now this is. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just because I've been, of course, writing about India and Australia in the first match of their series. So,
by the way, it's you know what, my son, my daughter, and me have been watching cricket a lot. And for the first time, I showed my daughter the India versus Australia match, and she was losing it. Because I mean, it's the first time she's seeing women play cricket, and I was like, "Oh, this is what it's all about. This is so much fun." Like, she was just like, because I think I don't know who, and this is one of the things that I find very amusing about women cricket is the hair management, right? Because it's like Kate Cross does this, somebody does that. I just find it very amusing about how they go about it, right? And so my daughter pointed that out. Like, my 4-year-old daughter is like, I didn't see that in this game. It's weird that you noticed that. So yeah. Okay, so we have Karthik Durai Swami who says, who on Super Chat says, I'm not able to enjoy IPL after being cheated by the ban of the 5th test. I don't think it was a ban. We still don't know the term to call it, by the way. I think the term to call it is a restraining order. I think that's what we call it.
Yes. They're basically taking a restraining order out on the 5th test. The 5th test will not come near any of us for the next 12 months.
Yeah. And he says, I was excited for that, but what about you guys? I'll just go first because I think somebody's just given an update that Punjab won the toss and will bowl first, which is good. Whatever that means. And I don't know what any of this means with any of these matches right now. But you know what? Every time the IPL starts, I'm very skeptical and like, what's this going to be? And then the first match, I think it was like effectively CSK 7 for 4. And then they'll end up winning. I was like, this is ridiculous. And then yesterday was another thing. So what have you enjoyed so much, the most about the 2 matches so far? I would say I really enjoyed Dre Ras, man. I mean, like him, that Yorker to De Villiers, even though it ricocheted and all that stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed that leap and all the rest of that. What about you, Bharat? What did you?
I honestly was really excited that somebody called Venkatesh Iyer played in the IPL. Like, so as a Tamilian, we all have at least 18 Venkatesh Iyers in our family, like, who generally account to not much in life. I mean, they'll work in some bank, get married, and have kids. To see a Venkatesh Iyer on a cricket scoreboard was for me like already a big moment. But I think the first match which you spoke about, I've just finished writing that Suresh Raina book, and when I saw that innings of his, I knew I kind of wanted to go through some of the chapters of the book and kind of try to figure out what that innings was. Which part of his it was just the most bizarre innings I've seen from a cricketer of renown or anyone in a long time. I don't know. It just stood out for me, that innings. But I think look,
You're talking about
MS
Venkatesh Iyer innings. Or you're talking about
Sorry?
Suresh Raina's innings. You're talking about Suresh Raina's innings.
Yeah, I jumped from Venkatesh Iyer to Suresh Raina's bizarre innings. Yeah, Venkatesh Iyer looked actually really good, didn't he? I thought he, again with that name.
I love the confidence of going from this to just like this and then patak. Like, absolutely. I mean, that's shameless behavior. I saw that, I was like, wow, as a bowler, you'd be like, this guy's literally front on, man. That's a lot.
And for someone who was studying to be a CA like 3 years ago or something, it's not a kind of shot you expect from someone like that. I'm just saying, yeah. And look at that team, right? You have Venkatesh Iyer doing that, and then Varun Chakravarti, who for 5 years, till 5 years ago, he was working in some IT company or I think a finance company, and just playing like we would after work, like, leave your briefcase somewhere. I mean, I've never done that kind of job, but yeah, you would have these uncles come back from work and, like, join us in our building cricket. No, Arre beta, 2 minute, 2 minute, do ball dalta hu. That's what Varun Chakravarti was doing, and now he's like, winning player of the match. He's going to play for India in the World T20 or T20 World Cup. So that team's just filled with these Tamil people who have chosen a second career and for a change are successful with it.
I like how you chose Venkatesh Iyer over somebody called Bharat playing.
Third ever Bharat to play in the IPL. Yeah. So after Bharat Chipli and Adrian Bharat, I think. Yeah. So, but I don't know. I've been waiting for KS Bharat to do something. He's been on all these tours as on the periphery for a long time, right? Yeah. The Bharats have not really done too well in cricket historically. Bharat Reddy, big name in domestic cricket, but not so much in international cricket. Bharat Arun, we take a lot of credit for, but his real name is Bharati Arun. It's not Bharat. But now that he's successful, he's now part of our family. So yeah, we call him. He's part of the Bharats. But I guess at least off the field, I'm the most successful Bharat in cricket. I would like to believe.
Oh yeah, you're giving me feels. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, the closest I get is Melinda Siriwardena, because there ain't going to be any Melindas, I don't think, who are going to make it maybe in international cricket one day. It's not that common a name, but yeah, that's why actually Vish Ahantaraja, the English journalist, often calls me Siri. It's in honor of Melinda, which is as close to Melinda as you're probably ever going to get. So I got no chance. So at least you're closer than me, Bharat.
But do you know he's a pop star in Sri Lanka, right? Siriwardena?
Yeah. That's another thing we clearly share in common. Almost.
Yeah. I've heard stories. About your stardom. You used to do songs exclusively about MasterChef Australia. I remember that. That's one of the stories I've heard. I don't know who I heard it from. But yeah, Mel, what have you thought about the two matches that we've seen so far? Because both have been as unpredictable as you can expect from the IPL.
They are. Look, but if I was going to pick out something, if you get an Australian on the show, and it's just sort of, it's funny because it's just ridiculous. I did enjoy seeing Josh Hazlewood get Kyron Pollard out. First ball of his second spell, I think it was. A really good ball. And I just like that because obviously I'm going to be taking some interest in the Australians who are playing there ahead of the T20 World Cup. And the thing is, I reckon Bharat and I have had more conversations about Josh Hazlewood as a T20 bowler than he deserves. Like we've discussed this, haven't we, Bharat? In like great Death all throughout the series in the West Indies and then in Bangladesh, and about like I can't it's such a ridiculous thing, because he's not, if Australia were going to pick their first team, you know, right, for the T20 World Cup, Josh Hazlewood I don't think would be in it, right? I reckon he'd be more likely to be there if Pat Cummins doesn't play or something happens like that. But so I just had to I thought of you, Bharat, when he took that wicket, and I just sort of had a little chuckle, because I thought, good on you, Josh, because it's, we've just discussed him so much.
Yeah, and we played good cop, bad cop with Josh Hazlewood. Every time Mel would message me, he's looking like the best of the Australians, isn't he? And I remember first game against West Indies, he took some wickets. I was like, wait, they'll sort him out. Like they'll start using their feet a lot more and then see what happens. Next match, he smashed for some 50 runs in 4 overs. I'm like, see, I told you. And then the third match, I think he got some wickets as well. Mel was like, see, I think he's really worked on his bowling. I was like, wait. Now what's going to happen? Next match, they're going to give him a couple of overs in the death and they're going to kill him. Exactly that happened, and he's dropped for the 5th game. So we've gone back and forth with Josh Hazlewood the last but another thing
we have. So
MS Dhoni getting angry. I've rarely seen him get so angry with another senior cricketer. It just tells you that he's getting older and grumpier.
Oh, but I've seen him angry. I think I've seen people say he's really cool, but I've seen him get angry. But again, yesterday was just a brief this thing. I enjoyed Bravo's face, because this is one of the most joyful cricketers that exists out there. He's just like, shit, man, did I just mess up with Dhoni? It's like my best friend, whatever he is. Yeah, all the dancing in his head just went out. But Mel, you were trying to say something. Sorry.
Oh no, I even forget what I was going to say now.
Okay.
But it's just it was fun to see that. So that kind of stood out for me as a nice little moment.
Yeah, Josh, I thought he bowled quite well, and he was like, Josh Hazlewood is one of those people who looks like, even in real life, like he would be a fast bowler. Because he looks pleasant, but you can see that, hey man, don't fuck with me. I won't, man. I wasn't planning to, all right, Josh. You can have the last papaya in the buffet or whatever it is you need. Okay, we got a few more super chats popping in. Thanks for everybody viewing. Please give a like if you enjoyed. Karthik Dorai Swami says, okay, he's already read that. Iftikhar Hassan says, thanks a lot for your super chat. He's given Australian $10. Nice. Hi, Sorabh. Question for Melinda. What she thinks about Mustafizur Rahman and Bangladesh cricket team? Any possibilities for more Bangladeshis to play at the BBL?
I think there are few things in life, let alone cricket, but I think there are few things in life as beautiful as one of the Fizz's cutters when he's on. And he sort of saw it when he first sort of made an impact and came on the scene, and it was like, oh my gosh, what is this? How does he do this? And it was incredible to watch. And then it sort of felt like he lost a bit of fizz. It's like when you've got your soda stream and you're kind of running out of the gas, and it just doesn't have that nice fizz before. But you have to say he made the most of some possibly extreme conditions, certainly in that series against Australia that we were watching. So the conditions were extreme, but he also did bowl really well. I love him. I think he's great to watch. I really like him because he came along and you feel like you've seen sort of people do everything, and we've seen cutters before as well. But Cutter, when he came along, it was like seeing something fresh and new in cricket, and that sort of doesn't seem to come along too much with bowling. And so I think he's terrific. With Bangladesh, it's a real mystery, isn't it? Because they've obviously done really well at home in these past couple of series against Australia and New Zealand. And I think the question that a lot of us have sort of been asking is how well is that going to translate to the UAE, where conditions are going to be different? Is that going to be really good build up for them to be playing, on those kinds of pitches? Or is the fact that they've just won games and so maybe confidence is high, all that sort of thing, is that going to actually carry them into a really good position within the T20 World Cup? So that for me is kind of the big question that I'm just not completely sure about. But I'm sure the Fizz will be fizzing and taking wickets and doing what he does. I hope so, because it's just so exciting when he does it.
I enjoyed when New Zealand, when New Zealand went down to Bangladesh right now, and there was one, I think, New Zealand left hand, I've completely forgotten, somebody who I think did well in one of the T20s, and I think he gets bowled by Fizz, and he just looks stunned by what has occurred, because this has never happened to him on a cricket field where somebody's got this in-cutter to go into him, and he's just staring at the pitch like, what? This is a new experience. Like, I don't know you could do it in that position. Like, that was his face. Yeah.
That's what I mean. He just does it. It's good to know that the players can feel like that as well.
Yeah. Bharat, you were saying something.
That was VVS Lakshman every time he was bowled. Yeah, he would in fact ask the question owner, like he would put his hand out and say "Kaise?" So even if it was a straight ball, but I think Mustafizur Rahman was maybe cricket's first mystery fast bowler. You heard so much about mystery spinners. When he came on and he like took all those wickets against India, people were like, "How is he doing this? Like, what is he doing? What is so?" Yeah, and then the Fizz name came through, and I don't think cricketers from around the world react to these kind of nicknames as well as West Indians do. I think the West Indians have mastered the whole art of, they get all these wrestling gimmicks on themselves, right? Andre Fletcher has been playing T20 cricket from the time it began, I think in 2005 or 6. But he was always one of those also rans. Then suddenly he comes up with this avatar called Iceman. And then suddenly everybody's talking about him. I think they really nail it. The rest take a while to catch on. Like if you're called the Fizz, you need to, it's not just about the bowling, right? You need to really own that gimmick. Yeah, it always felt like,
but it describes his bowling so well though, doesn't it? Because the ball does just fizz off the pitch in a direction that perhaps you're not expecting it to. So somehow it sort of just worked in particular, like, I don't know, worked well for him. Ball fizzing and popping. I like the Fizz.
I honestly, I think like whether it's PBL or like any of these big leagues, I think the only way for cricket to continue existing like for more countries is for everybody to mandatorily have at least one associate member in their side. Whether you're playing this person or no, just have them in the side. Like it's not much to ask for. I mean, you can spend like 20 lakhs on somebody and just like have like somebody from Nepal or whoever, whichever, like Hong Kong, whatever else. Because I every time I see that, I'm like, this is such an obvious solution. Because then it's literally like if Melinda's watching like the IPL and trying to figure out, hey, Josh Hazelwood, I would be like in whatever Bermuda and going like, hey, when's my guy going to play or whatever, my girl, my guy, whatever it is. Okay, I'm just going to go through one last super chat and then we'll go through the squads. This is something that all three of us feel strongly about. Aditya Ranganathan, thanks for your super chat. He says, wow, piece on holding Bharat. Glad you penned it because Mike got a lot of unnecessary social media hate for not offering insights or analysis. What do Mel and Bharat think of storytelling / anecdotal commentary in test cricket? Oh, by the way, somebody's corrected you and saying Karthik Raj says it's not Iceman, it's Spiceman apparently. Is it Spiceman? Or is it one of
I think it's Iceman. Yeah, I think there's so many going around these days. Yeah. Iceman was Steve Waugh, wasn't it? Yeah, originally.
So what do you think of Michael holding? Because you know what, I was listening to this Markwood podcast and he said something very interesting where he's like, what I love about Michael Holding's commentary is that even when he's criticizing you, he'll say something positive. Where he'll say, hey, that was overpitched, but at least the length was right. Like, that's such an interesting insight. So what do you both think about Holding? Yeah, and the question that he asked about anecdotal / storytelling, etc.
It's fun. I thought Bharat wrote a really lovely piece, and I told him as much. Of course, I thought he wrote a really beautiful piece. He's the sort of guy. We actually did a Zoom call for a few videos 2-3 weeks back, and he told me then that he was basically going to stop commentating. He was retiring from it at the end of the series, and I didn't say anything because he still had a couple of tests to commentate, and I was wasn't my place. I didn't think to say anything until he decided, if he decided to say something. But when he told me, I was like, oh my gosh, I just couldn't believe it, because thinking about commentary in England without him, it just seems impossible to contemplate. But even when we were talking, we shared a lot of messages back and forwards afterwards as well. There are very few people I've met in cricket who fill me with as much warmth as he does when you speak to him. He's got a really magnetic personality, and not like, some people you say they have a magnetic personality because they're loud or vivacious or whatever, but the calm and authority that he has on the mic, he has that very, very much in real life as well, but also the warmth and the humor too. So he is someone I really admire. And reading his book, I mean, I devoured his book in a day. It took me a day to read Why We Kneel, How We Rise. And it was really insightful, made me think a lot about a lot of things. And some of it's really uncomfortable as well. So he's going to be a huge loss, I think, to cricket commentary in general. And we're just so lucky that we've had him for as long as we have had him. And it was sort of a real shame. I think that's the real tragedy of the fifth test. It's like, oh, we didn't get that one last test with Mikey holding behind the mic, but he's genuinely, he is such a wonderful human being, and it's so wise. There's so much wisdom that he has, in not just in his mind but in his heart as well. Really impressive human.
Yeah, I mean, someone actually messaged me today. I don't know Michael Holding as well as Mel does, and I don't have his number, but someone messaged my piece to him, and he replied back to, my friend saying, oh, mercy, I think I'll have to buy this guy a drink. He's been extraordinarily complimentary towards me. I don't he almost, he just forwarded me the message. You could see that he's getting a little embarrassed by whatever I wrote about him. And I've been wowed by his wow for years. I remember as a child, and honestly, when he would go wow, you didn't that's it. Even as his partner in the commentary box, you're like, how do I top that? I'll just better stay quiet for the next few minutes. And I've seen that happen with even the likes of Tony Gregg, who could not stop talking, right? He was known for excitement about everything, but even Tony Gregg would just back off. And another thing my friend said was he'd not heard about my piece on Patrick Patterson and all that I've done for him subsequently. And then it made sense to me, because for ever since I wrote that piece, I've always wondered how, I know a lot of other people in the West Indies just didn't do much about it. They just ignored it. But I always wondered how Michael Holding, who played with Patrick Patterson, who was his mentor in the Jamaican side, never took notice and did anything about it. And then today, when I got the message from a friend, I realized that that's because he's not on social media and he did not know anything about it. And when I heard that Michael Holding knows about it, it was almost like Mel said, right? My heart, I in my heart, I just realized that, something's going to happen now. Whether he does it through West Indies cricket or not, he'll definitely make sure that he reaches out to his former teammate and whatever it is, even if it's just a kind word, that's going to happen. And that's just how Michael Holding, the human being, is, right? And look, 33 years. And another thing about Michael Holding's commentary is it's never changed. I was watching some highlights of some 91-92 match, and I put it in the piece as well, where it just random. So Jeff Marsh drops a catch and he says cricket's lifelike. One day you're hot, the other day you're not. And that's all he needs to say. It just, and he seriously was Morgan Freeman, man. I just wish he had done more voiceovers for movies. Maybe that's what he can do now. I mean, he's still young enough. Maybe, if he's not busy with his horses. Mel, maybe you should make that suggestion. Movie voiceovers with Michael Holding. I'll watch that. Yeah, why not?
Since Mel is on WhatsApp basis with him. I mean, this is now we are just sending our messages through Mel for Michael Holding.
I have to start charging agent fees, communication fees.
Okay, let's quickly talk. Sorry. Yeah.
On storytelling, I think it's some people are just good at it. Of course, Sorabh and others are not, and it's the same in the commentary box. You can see, you need to. In both Mel and I have done commentary, and it's about timing your story, right? You don't start a story when the spinner is bowling, for example, and you also need to know what's happening in the match and at what point you start a story, and knowing that you're going to get to end it. A lot of times I've seen a lot of these former cricketers, even if they have stories, right? They'll start it somewhere and you'll never reach the end. Like, they'll start it in the last like 5 minutes of the stint, for example. So I think it's an art as well. And in Test cricket, I think the demands on TV are so much different than, say, radio. Radio for Test cricket, Mel will agree, is the best platform. And especially when you're as talkative as me, like the three of us are, I've seen so many co-commentators, they look at me and they're like, yeah, he's not going to stop talking. So they'll just say, so Bharat, this, and they'll just stop. And then the whole over is taken care of. He's rambling on and on about some random thing. So I think it's an art, but maybe people should work on it. Like, you think about it, right? Some of these guys have played 25 years of international cricket or just cricket. They should have a lot of stories.
Yeah. By the way, we got to talk about today's match as well, which is a lot of news coming in from there, which is Punjab versus Rajasthan. Three people who've never played the IPL, and some of them are surprising names to me. Wait 1 second. Here they are. Adil Rashid, which is quite bizarre that he's never played before, and Aiden Markram and Ishan Purell, which is all three who are quite surprising names who've not played before. And so Punjab really ringing in the changes, which obviously have been basis availability and all the rest of that stuff. But what do you think? I mean, I think Rajasthan Royals is pretty much done with this IPL, I think, or SRH Rajasthan are right at the bottom. I don't think they have. So they just have points to prove for the auction, which is coming up. That's basically all this is about, I assume, individually.
Yeah,
my mind's still blown. By the way, my mind's still just blown by Adil Rashid. I hadn't even sort of thought about him never having played before. That does seem really wild to me. He's that sort of bowler that you think actually would have done quite well, even better than Moeen Ali, perhaps bowling the way he bowls in the IPL. So that's just random thought that you've just put in my mind.
Yeah, and by the way, Liam Livingston, has he played before? Has he played? I mean, isn't this his first IPL? I'm assuming that this is.
He's been part of some side
before,
in the
I
last
think.
Years, right?
Yeah. But I'm not sure how much he played.
Yeah, probably one match before. He's played one match before in 2000. Oh no, 4 matches in 2019. Didn't really set the world on fire, but he played. I think he played one not out, 71 runs. I mean, not much to go on. But given the current form he's probably is a good selection. So any calls on who you think has the upper hand in this one, or like is this one of those where it's like, does the result matter? like unless Punjab wins, it's like, yeah.
I'll tell you who I'm excited about. This Karthik Tyagi. He spent 3 months in Australia in the nets learning under Ravi Shastri and Bharat Arun. Like, after every net session, I remember Bharat Arun, like after everybody else had gone, like the bowling coach of India would spend at least half an hour with Karthik Tyagi on his bowling. And I know he's the one who unfortunately hit Will Pucovski in that practice match, Mel, you'll remember.
Yes.
And he was bowling, by the end, you could see his bowling had really improved. And, there's so much talk of other fast bowlers who've since come and played. And wo net bowler reh gaya bichara. So I really hope that he has a good IPL and he does well. Aiden Markram seems to have really taken his T20 cricket to the next level, right? He seemed like such a steady test kind of batsman till 2 years ago. But now he's captaining, he's taking wickets with the ball. I mean, in Bangladesh, maybe even without the rubber ball, you and I'll take wickets right now. But he's seriously, I didn't expect him to come into the IPL. But like Mel said, Adil Rashid, I'm happy. Yeah, he's done so much in T20 cricket for 13, 14 years now. So about time he got his due.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about Tyagi, because that's just reminding me. I had to keep asking, hang on, wait, who's this? Because I think with Natarajan and Shardul Thakur and Tyagi, those three, I hadn't really sort of seen them play before. So I was constantly saying, hang on, which one's he? Which one's he? We're in the nets, or like peering from when we were watching them at Drummoyne, and you know they're at like about 5,078 meters away. But I won't forget when he hit Will Pukowski on the head. That's for sure.
This is by the way, also Karthik Tyagi and Navdeep Saini's Instagram game. Oh, I mean, my God, I'm severely impressed. Like I haven't seen, like I don't know if you have seen the Shubman Gill and all the ad with Gillette. I'll send it to you. It's an absolute joy because it's less an ad for shaving and more ad for me to go and work out on my torso, because all three of them are really fit. And the most enjoyable thing about this ad is that Sanju Samson, it's a shaving ad, and he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to shave. I like my beard. It was just hilarious to watch. So Karthik Tyagi and Navdeep Saini, like they have like abs coming out of everywhere. And so that's the Instagram game. And every time I see this, I remember the bowlers that we grew up watching, some of them. I'm not going to name them. And I'm like, wow, we've come to this. This is incredible, man. Well done, Team India. Super. We are at the end of this. Sorry. Go ahead, Melinda. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, so has that been big? The ad that has actually been, that I've seen a lot of, that is the Cadbury ad, where they've swapped the male and female roles. That seems to, that's like, has that been huge in India, like that ad, and really well received? Because it was just all over my social media feed and people were tagging me in it and stuff. So, and of course I'd never seen the original one, but apparently the original one was a big deal, I believe.
Yeah. And the original one was a big deal back then. And so but I mean, the thing that I mean, it's a nice ad, but what confuses me is that you're batting without a helmet to a medium pacer. I mean, that's really insulting to the bowler. You're just like, you're not capable. It's like,
I did notice that.
Super. This has been a real pleasure. Thanks a lot once again, as always, Bharat and Melinda. Anything you both have to plug? Anything you'd like to tell people to go see, watch, whatever? Of course, Melinda's YouTube channel I'll put in the description. Bharat's book on Suresh Raina again in the description. Anything else you would like to plug? Please tell our viewers.
Well, you can also, I have just, if you're following the India women playing Australia women, I'm writing about that on sportingnews.com.au. So you can always go and read that. I can't even remember what I wrote tonight. I'm so tired.
I'm going to plug for, this could have been a YouTube family court show as well. So Mel has clearly dumped me. She does YouTube shows only with other people, as you have noticed, Sorabh. So I'm going to plug for her show. She's doing some great work with Megan Schutt and Jess Jonathan during this India-Australia Women's Series. So go and watch that, because you won't watch me with her anymore.
You stop that. You know that you're always.
And Callum Ferguson as well. Yeah. So she's picking.
Just expanding, just sharing the love a little bit. I have a lot of love to give, but it's not often that you get. I'm so stoked that I've got Megan Schutt and Jess Jonathan, because it's not often that you get two current internationals who are happy to sort of analyze and talk about a team that they should be playing in right now. So they're very insightful. So yeah, it is worth checking out.
Superb. Thanks a lot for everybody tuning in. Again, I'm on tour. Just want to mention next week is Bangalore. This 2 days is I'm going to be at the Habitat. Then there's Hyderabad and there's Delhi and all that stuff. Tickets are on sorabpanth.com. Tomorrow we have Deepdas Gupta. Day after we have, I was going to say Melinda Farrell again, Snehal Pradhan. Then the day after that we have Melinda Farrell. Melinda Farrell is just constant. We have, I'm just making dumb jokes in my own head now. We have Jamie Alter, and very excited about, as Melinda said, current cricketers. Kate Cross and Alex Hartley are going to be joining me on 29th September. Very excited about that. So thanks a lot to everybody tuning in. Thank you, Bharat. Thank you, Melinda. Everybody